Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to All for United. It's Friday night. The girls are going, but where else would you want to be than seeing these beautiful people talking about timeline talk and what's happened this week? You'll notice that Jimmy is not here. He's pulled a sickie again. Henry, you might have a bit more information on that, but here I am covering it for him. So anyway, lots going on this week. And I will do some screen shares in a moment to show exactly what's been said for those of you who might have missed it. Lots of to-in and fro-in and players coming out to particular journalists that have been saying some particular things. Now, obviously, we'll discuss how we feel about it. We want to know how you guys feel about it. But yeah, we'll be talking about Anthony Martial, how his form is for Sevilla. He played last night, obviously. But yes, Grant, I hope you're well, buddy. Thank you for coming on, mate. So lots of talk this week with Christian Falk. He came out and he said the English players like Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford and co are irritated that Ronaldo wants to lead the dressing room with his own clique. There is a risk of a split in the team, but Rashford has responded and said, are we making it up as we go along now then? Please stop looking for divides. How do you feel about that as a whole, firstly?
One word, Mark, is messy. And by the way, thank you for the introduction. It's just a messy situation. There is no trust, it seems, in the dressing room. There is no unity in the dressing room. And Manchester United, the clue's in the name. It's a United club, or it should be a United club, and it's far from it at the moment. You know, we have big game players in this team, like, you know, Ronaldo is a big game player. He's a match winner on his day. You know, there's so many good players on paper, individual players in United's ranks, but they just cannot work together as a team. And I really don't know what is going wrong behind the scenes. I don't know if it's a issue with situation going on with players, whether there is a mole in the camp that is, you know, spreading things to the media. I don't know, but it's just so messy. And as a United fan, and I'm sure the guys will say the same, it's just disheartening seeing everything that's going on at the moment. It's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and it's a difficult one to digest, really, isn't it? There's lots coming out, especially over the last few months, few years even. You know, it's always Man United, the big name that wants to be used in order to drive clicks. And I get that. I understand that's sometimes how you run a business. You talk about one of the most popular things. However, it does become very detrimental when you bring in particular players. And I agree with. I am from that corner where I agree that the players are coming out. I think it's about time that they do that, and I'm sure that if anyone else was targeted in any way, shape or form, they'd probably do that from other clubs as well, as you would in any business, any frame or whatever. But anyway, Henry, good to see you, buddy. It's been a little while. I know you've been very, very busy, and the winds have kept you in so you can come on tonight, so I appreciate it. How are you doing, first of all, and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. To be fair, this has been happening for months, hasn't it? It's been happening for years, in fact, with United, especially post Sir Alex. It was happening a lot under Jose. It happened a bit under Louis van Gaal as well. We kind of managed to dampen it down a little bit there, though. But it's just not good. It's not a good look for the club. That's the most important thing, I think, is that, you know, the club is getting tainted essentially by journalists. Whether they know what's going on, I don't know. You don't know what to believe these days. Some journalists.
Not journalists.
Well, they're people who claim to have inside knowledge. They claim to be journalists. Claim to have inside knowledge about the goings on at United. The one problem I have is we've seen players, PR teams come out and do things before. And I hope this is coming from the actual players themselves and not their social media teams, because that would be really worrying if it's people talking on behalf of a player when it's such a serious situation, because it is. The captaincy at any club is big. It's most important at United, especially considering the senior figures there. And if we've had a problem with Harry Maguire in the sense that his performances haven't been quite up to standard, or nowhere near up to standard, if I'm honest. So, yeah, this is not a good look, and I just hope that it's not PR teams that are writing this stuff. Because if we find out it is, then there's going to be some serious unrest in the fan base and in the dressing room as well.
Yeah, I saw a few responses, as you do. You go looking for certain responses, and a lot of people have alluded to the fact that it could be PR teams. I'm not so sure how true it is. I know we like to live in this world of everyone has a PA, and when you're important, you have a PA, this, that, and the other. But I'd like to think that obviously these things are from the heart, really. So we'll have to wait and see if any more goes on. Waz, I haven't had you on one of my shows before. Great to have you on, Geezer. And yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about this. So talk to me. How you feeling about this too?
Yeah, thanks for having me on anyways. It's been a difficult couple of months for myself, so I've not really been on any streams. But welcome, Hammer. Yeah, I actually watch the show quite regularly. I watch it with James, Henry, and I know a few of the lads a bit personally. So it's good to be on anyway. Yeah, I think personally in situations like this, obviously there's a lot of turmoil behind the scenes, but in situations particularly like this, what the journalists do, they follow the narrative. They know if they speak negatively on Harry Maguire, that it'll stick in this situation because the fans' perception of Harry Maguire is negative. So they can just throw anything at the wall now and it'll stick. Everyone will believe it because it's the thing to do at the moment. It's like, for example, say I don't know, say Marcus Rashford would have an amazing season. If anyone threw anything at Marcus Rashford, the United fans in the comments will go back at the journalists, saying, shut up, this, that, and the other. They'll go back at the journalists. But because he's having a bad season, and then journalists, they use that as an opportunity. They just throw whatever they can, and they know it'll stick because the fans' perception of Marcus Rashford this season isn't a good one. So they just match it. They've done it all their lives, all their careers. So I wouldn't take too much of the journalists' stories true. Of course, one or two will be true, but again, as Henry touched on, it's not a good situation at the club. But at the same time, you do think, does this actually need to happen? Do we need to have these conversations? Do we need to have that conflict to see where the club's actually going? Was it for a while too long where we were under a comfort blanket where we were hiding these stories or trying to cover it, and that led to complacency? So I think there is good and bad in it, but I wouldn't believe everything journalists say at the moment.
No, I think you have to take all of these things with a pinch of salt, absolutely. But it's very difficult not to get caught up in the drama, right? And obviously when it's something that you love, something that you follow, and you see positivity, negativity, whatever that might be, you get involved in it. And it's very difficult to read between the lines, isn't it? And it is a real shame. Callum, great to have you on tonight, buddy. Last minute entrance. I really appreciate that. So Marcus,
you needed a bit of eye candy.
Yeah, we absolutely do, mate. You were first on my list, bro. I did try and text him yesterday. He ignored it. So there you go. So Marcus Rashford obviously responded to this. Do you think he's done the right thing? Do we need to see more of that? I know we don't want to thrive on the negativity, but I personally feel that something needs to give. And would you agree that it's a good thing that Marcus has come out and defended himself?
It's good that he's done it. It's bad that he's had to. These journalists quite literally don't know a single thing. But it's like Waz has just said there, you know, they don't, because of how negative and all the negativity around the club at the minute, if you say something about United, everyone's going to believe it. Like Maguire at the minute, oh, how bad is he as a captain? I know, I'll write a crap story that hasn't got any truth in it about him giving up the captaincy, and everyone will believe it and jump on it. If United were first in the league at the minute, none of these stories would be coming out. And if they were, no one would believe in it. So it's total crap, I'm afraid. And 99.9% of these journalists quite literally know absolutely nothing. And funnily enough, most of it was about Maguire and Rangnick and getting rid of the captaincy, and the guy who wrote the story worked for the Daily Mirror. Even a broken clock's right twice a day. They haven't got a clue what they're on about. They just love writing about United because they know it'll cause a reaction, not only from United fans but from everyone. Because everyone likes taking the mickey out United and laughing at United, even if it's not true. You know, don't let the truth get in the way of a good headline. Journalists are supposed to tell the truth. They're supposed to have a bit of integrity, and they never do. It's okay that Rashford came out, but the fact that he's had to after everything that he's done in terms of, you know, outside of football, and he's having to come out, and then this journalist just replied to him saying, no, it is true. I think the person that knows it's true is the guy that you're actually writing about. It's pretty kind of disgusting, really. Yeah, and you don't see it about anything else. What other workplace can you get away with just straight up lies other than being a Tory politician? You know, it's ridiculous, and there needs to be some kind of regulatory body for the media, because it's not only in sport but across all sectors of society, from politics to news to everything else. Lying is getting people angry, and it's causing reactions, just like our senior politicians in the country are doing. They're talking utter rubbish in Parliament, and it's causing huge reactions in the public, and it's putting MPs at danger. And that we're doing this crap about footballers that doesn't mean anything, and none of it's true, and it's causing people to start threatening footballers. Like, look at what Maguire's just done. He's just, I don't know much about this young person, River, I believe they're called, but all he did was do a video and like met up with her, and you had comments just saying,
Yes,
love this,
some of
club, and
the comments
you're
were
awful at
disgusting.
football and stuff. And all he's done is try and, you know, do something nice for an ill child. Like, how is this negativity in the media and these lies from the press, like, that's allowed that reaction to happen? And the people that are doing it should be ashamed of themselves as well. Because players can't do anything right, regardless of how crap they are on the pitch. Why should they be abused personally in the personal life and for doing things for ill people just because they're a good person?
Don't you think it's all being blown out of proportion, Colin? Like, just all of it, like from the slander, it's just gone way over the top.
I think everything's blown out of proportion with United. It always is. Yeah, to be honest, mate, you kind of took everything I wanted to say and said it yourself before I did, so it was a little frustrating, really. But everything's absolutely blown out of proportion to the max, because they want the best reaction and the biggest reaction and the most amount of clicks on their websites. And unfortunately, it's Man United that do that, and they're going to carry on doing that because it makes them money, and nothing's going to stop them. And unfortunately, until something genuinely serious happens to a football player, or a normal, like like a politician or a businessman or whoever, you know, nothing's going to change, unfortunately.
Will it though? We saw how they drove Caroline Flack frigging to a grave, basically, and they've still carried on. We've seen how they've attacked Caroline Flack, and look at her, she's not here now.
Did you say with Carragher then, mate?
No, Caroline Flack.
Caroline Flack.
Oh yeah, I think that. Well, yeah, but I think that's still carried on because there's no regulation to it. But these newspapers like the Star and the Sun and the Daily Mail and the Mail Online, they're allowed to write whatever they want because nobody stops them, because they're all owned by mega rich powerhouses that aren't going to get regulations on them, because the people that are the mates are unfortunately the ones that are in power, and it's not going to change. And you're going to see celebrities killing themselves and footballers dangerously hurting themselves, and it's going to carry on and on and on, and it's just not going to stop because there's nothing to stop it.
Callum, just to come on your point there as well, Sir Alex Ferguson, in a very famous interview to the media, said that your job is to tell the truth. You know, that very famous YouTube video that is still circulating around. Do you think this would happen under Sir Alex Ferguson's watch now?
I think
not a chance.
It's really telling, isn't it? That would never happen now. That would never happen then, sorry.
I'm not sure if it wouldn't, actually. I think that this was on the cusp of social media leaks, And I think that whilst Ferguson was in the position and he was, and everybody was scared of him, I don't think he would have had control over that. And to be honest with you, I would have liked to have seen how he.
So would I.
That
To be fair,
I think he did have control over it, Mark. I think he did because
he did, but way
the
before
BBC
social
came
media.
out and wrote a load of rubbish about him and his family, and he just got and he didn't speak to the BBC for a decade.
Just look at Tottenham, though.
Exactly. It was feeling it was doing it for years.
Yeah, it was.
Look at Spurs right now. Look at Spurs. They're chatting shit about Spurs' backroom staff already. Conte's only been in the job for 3 months, and they're already talking shit about him.
Less than that.
Yeah,
they'd be banned completely, and they just wouldn't write.
Yeah, well, I
because
think that's the
Ferguson
thing,
wouldn't allow it.
right? I think it would happen because of social media, but the way it'll be handled would be different.
I think the people that would write about it though wouldn't be credited. They don't.
Some of them just wouldn't have the balls because they would be scared to say.
Well, I think you'd probably see people like Neil Custis write crap because no one cares about him, and I think you'd see those really discredited journalists. They'd write because they'd want to stay relevant. But the likes of people from off the top of my head, Andy Mitten, he wouldn't write that kind of stuff because he'd be respected in Manchester and at Manchester United. So he'd never write anything like that because he'd use sources and research to write stuff. He'd never write clickbait crap because he understands the club. He's a fan of the club and he's a respected journalist from the players and fans and the management at United. So he'd never write that kind of thing.
The only issue with that,
people at the Sun will do.
You're right. You're 100% right. But the only slight problem with that is it goes completely the other way with some of these journalists. You see them writing massive PR pieces about some of the players in terms of. I've seen some of the stuff that's come out saying, I think it's from The Athletic as well, who are a really respectable source. I really like the work that they do. I've subscribed to them.
They're probably the best around at the minute.
Yeah, at the moment, they've got the best inside knowledge, but they wrote something like a massive PR piece about Harry Maguire saying how fantastic and integral he was to Manchester United. And we're not all footballers, and we've not all played the game, but I think we're not blind.
Shame we haven't got Stu on, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, but we're not blind enough to see that there are problems with Harry Maguire, problems that are detrimental to Manchester United in terms of the way that we want to play football. So when it spins the other way, it kind of annoys me. There's no middle ground with United at the moment. There is either hammering the club or there's massive PR pieces. Who is it? It's Neil Ashton, isn't it? Who was previously of the Sun, who's working closely with the Glazer family for a while. And nothing came out from the Sun hammering Manchester United for a very long time. So these things are all, they're all matey with each other. And the problem is we need to find a middle ground with the club. The club, it comes from the top. The club needs to get back on the straight and narrow, and then the journalists will start writing respectable pieces about the club. Because as soon as there's an agenda, the journalists write about it straight away. One way or the other.
Can I just come very quickly on Henry's point as well? I think there's a lot of very smart footballing people who are involved in fanship and follow Manchester United. I think people have a divine right to actually choose who they want to believe in terms of everything that is going about. I've, for my own podcast, spoken to quite a few members of the media who I believe are actually very creditable. Now, there are some people might have a bit of a disagreement with me on that, and they're welcome to their opinion. But there are some people, and I think...
Come on, mate, we start that again. You completely blocked out. I don't know if that was just me or if it was everyone else, but you properly lagged. Say that again, mate.
He's all right for me.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sorry, I should start again.
Right.
No, it's okay. What I was saying was, going back to Henry's point, I think there's a lot of very sensible and learned Manchester United fans who really have a bit of common sense. I'd like to think have a bit of common sense into, not believing everything they see. Or everything they read, quite frankly. There's a lot of very, I think, and I've spoken to some sections of the media for my own podcast, Out With Evolve for United. There are some people in the media that I actually have a little bit of respect for, and I won't mention names because I think there are some journalists who are actually quite good at writing about generic football, but also about United specifically as well. There are some people who, as the guys have mentioned earlier on, do have a bit of a clickbait mentality, and I do feel that it is important that a lot of people who are watching this tonight look at a lot of the stuff that has been going and actually make their own judgments and say, do we actually believe what is going on here? Because as a person who's working in academia myself, And I really think strongly about this. I'm a very learned guy myself. I think it's important that you really assess what you're actually reading, what is actually being said in the pieces that is taking place, and then make your own judgments as to what you believe is fair, what you believe is exaggerated, what you believe is bias, what you believe is just frankly incorrect. And I think there and then you'll be able to wheedle out the people who, quite frankly, are talking absolute crap and the people who are actually talking common sense.
Yeah, good points, well made. Very good discussion there, guys. And I'll just say a few pieces on it myself, to be honest with you. First of all, this was the same man, Christian Falk, who said that Rangnick to United wasn't happening, and the very next day, it happened. Okay, that's what I'll say about him. Secondly, you're absolutely right, Callum, with regards to Maguire and the fact that he visited this kid who's obviously had chemo and some awful things, and the players are stuck between a rock and a hard place. They are damned if they do, damned if they don't, and it's absolutely terrible. And let me just say one other thing as well, is that anybody that responds in a negative way to something like that, we do not condone, and I think it's disgusting, and we will not put up with that here at All for United at the very least. And I can vouch for each and every one of you on the panel as well, because it's absolutely disgusting.
Absolutely agree with
you. But anyway, we move on to Harry Maguire. Funny enough, obviously, we've spoken about his lovely thing that he did this week. Fair play to the geezer, and that's what football is all about. When you're in the limelight, you set an example, you do those things, and it really is testament to him and fair play to him, regardless of anyone's thoughts on how he may or may not be as a player. Okay. But he's seen it. I read today. I've seen a lot of reports about this club that aren't true, and this is another. Not going to start posting about everything that is written. And this is the thing as well. They have to pick and choose, PR teams or not. The amount that's written about them, I suppose they have to pick their battles and choose to decide on whether they respond to certain things. And I think that when Marcus has come out about what he said, and Harry about this as well, I think it's probably a battle well chosen by the both of them. About everything that is written, but I needed to make this one clear. We're united and focused on Sunday. Enjoy your day, everyone. Grant, do you think that was a good response by him and probably needed as well?
Yeah, I think it shows what we really want to see from Maguire for a long time. We really want to see a guy who's come on and is the captain, the figurehead of Manchester United, actually coming out and defending the team and himself. I think it's something that we've been crying out for a long time. I really think that we could all have our opinions on Maguire on the pitch this season. I personally think he's been very disappointing. I think he's been very good for England and had a very good Euros, but I think the season for Manchester United just simply hasn't happened for him for a multitude, a myriad of reasons, in my opinion. But you have to say, Maguire, I think, has to come out fighting a little bit. I think he has to try and show that he is the guy that United bought for £80 million from Leicester City. This is a guy who needs to kind of showcase that he is the future of Manchester United and be that figurehead in the team. Now, a lot of people will say that Maguire isn't captain material. I personally don't think he's captain material either. I think he's a good player on his day. It's not happened for him this season. I think he could still be a very useful player to us, but I think he needs to really work on his consistency and get back to the form that he was when he played, both for Leicester and also for Hull City beforehand. But I think he has to come out fighting Maguire, Mark, because as I said, he's a guy who hasn't had a great season. The fact that he's a captain of the club, which is not having a great time at the moment, he's been partly responsible for the loss of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in management. Whether that was individually his fault, I think it's more a team collective rather than him personally. But he's been part of that problem. So I think he has to come out and say, look, and make us real staunch defence and say, okay, yes, we've made mistakes. Yes, I've been part of that problem, but here's how we're going to sort this out. And whether I agree with him or not is maybe slightly irrelevant. I don't know. But, I think he needs to try and come out fighting. Whether he do it or not, I don't know. But he's singing all the right words. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, good points, well made. And this is the thing with regards to social media as well. everybody bangs on about wanting a captain that's going to show leadership and it's going to be a mouthpiece and I get that he might not be the right captain for us. I get that. But what he is doing is responding and creating tweets or whatever that might be every week and being that mouthpiece, but still people want to jump on his back. For me personally, I couldn't care less what he tweets or whatever. If he's defending something that he believes in or he wants to, show his appreciation to the fans, that's absolutely fine by me. Who cares? Who cares? But yeah, do you share the same sentiment, Henry? Do you think that those sorts of responses by Harry in particular, coming out and saying what he's saying, do you think that it was unnecessary?
Well, I'm a little bit more, I guess, old school in the sense that Harry Maguire.
I thought you might be. That's why I asked you.
He's not captain material. I'm sorry. We're. This is going to sound really harsh, but we're settling for mediocrity at this club at the moment. And Harry Maguire being the figurehead for arguably the biggest club on the planet, it's not very good, is it? He's not very enthusiastic in interviews. I don't look at him and see a man who's in the dressing room berating the players when they're not playing well, when they're not trying hard. I don't see that. I just see someone who looks a bit lost. He looks like he's been thrown into a position that he had no idea what he was going to do. He's always been used to having kind of figureheads around him rather than, him being the center of attention. And I think it has paid, it's been a kind of heavy weight on his shoulders. But I just look at the previous captains of the club, even in the last 15 years. Even like Ashley Young, you could see him berating players on the pitch. You could see the desire to want to win the ball back. You could see him pushing the players around him to work and do better. And then you look at, Nemanja Vidic. He would kill someone before they ran past him. I see a lost boy in Harry Maguire. I see someone who, it's not his fault that we paid the money for him. That's incompetence from the owners. We paid 50 million for Wan-Bissaka, for God's sake. The price tag is not his fault. But, when you pay that much for a player, it comes with a price. And I don't think he'll live up to it. I think the pressure's got to him. This whole tweet thing, everyone's making a massive meal of someone calling out a journalist. Opposition clubs, rival clubs have been doing that for years. Every time that a journalist comes out and rubbishes, Manchester City or Chelsea, they're quite active on social media, or even Liverpool. They're active and they rubbish these stupid claims. It's only now that the players have started responding. So I guess it's better late than never. But I'm fed up. I'm fed up of the lack of leadership. We've got Rafael Varane, multiple Champions League winner. Cristiano Ronaldo, multiple Champions League winner. I mean, Bruno, I'm a little bit hesitant because he seems to throw a strop every time he's on the pitch, which kind of annoys me. And if that's setting an example, that's not great, really. But David De Gea, senior figure at the club. I know he got the captain's armband taken off him because he spoke out against the club after the Newcastle game, didn't he? He got the captain's armband taken away from him. I thought that was a bit weird. So the problem is we've had a manager who tried his best but kind of pandered to the players. And now they've been told to shove it by someone who's a lot more experienced and has told them to work a bit harder. They don't like it.
I reckon Ralph is a frosty bastard and they don't like it.
I reckon he's throwing bottles in the changing room. I'm going to be honest. I hope he's more likened to Ferguson than he is to a Solskjaer, because I think he's told them some hard truths. That the reality is some of these players aren't as good as they think they are. And we've seen them sauntering around on the pitch. I'm tired of it. Maguire's been one of them as well. I'm sorry, he's been sulking at times. He's got his head down. He looks morbid. He looks like he's on a march to a funeral sometimes when he's walking. He doesn't throw hands around. He doesn't say, okay, right, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be here. He's the one being directed by the players around him. He's got a more senior figure who's one more next to him, so he's probably a little bit intimidated. And he's the captain. He's the centerpiece of this United side. He's the poster boy for this United side in a team with one of arguably the greatest players ever. Standards. For God's sake, standards. They've gone out the window with this club. And Harry Maguire, he'll get criticism, but no offense to him, but he is the epitome of what's happened over the last 8 to 10 years at Manchester United. He is the example of how incompetent managers and the owners have been.
Am I going to have to do my rant about Maguire again? Because
No,
I did
hold
it for
up,
about
because
10 minutes the other night.
I might do a little bit of a rant myself, to be honest.
If you remember, Grant.
I felt like Henry had some stuff to get off his chest there. He sounded a little frustrated, but no, but you guys know how I feel about Maguire. I've since probably since last year I've been talking about him, and my thing around him is always the whole 1B thing. Right, at his very best, he can't be the number one center back at a title winning or Champions League winning or whatever winning you want to say club. In terms of some of the stuff y'all have been talking about, no, I definitely don't think he's captain material. Can he be in the squad? Sure. I don't think he can lead the squad. I think everybody has been starting to. Brendan, relax yourself, okay? No one's looking for a scapegoat. The question was about Maguire. Relax. But I think he
For a scapegoat? Oh, piss off.
Yeah. See, I'm nicer. No, but
Brendan, I'm going to be honest with you, buddy, and this is not any slant at you at all, but by the looks of things, I think you've come in last minute, and I think you probably need to watch the whole conversation to understand where he's coming from here. Sorry, Hammer.
He was Marshall out. Sorry.
No, you're good. And what Henry had brought up too, I actually really like, where he said it seems like Maguire at times is getting intimidated by the bigger figures around him, and you can't be a captain anywhere if you get intimidated by anything that comes in, whether it's more successful people or there's anything like that, right? So I think he is being intimidated. I don't think he has the leadership quality. I think there's better leaders in the team. Whether you want to talk about attitude, whether you want to talk about past success or anything like that. In terms of Bruno, because somebody mentioned that, I do understand. Bruno hasn't had the success, but I wouldn't mind him as captain. I just think he gets way too hot-headed, and he'll start getting sent off, especially if he was captain and he was the person that had to go talk to the ref. That'd be a shit show. And the last thing about the media stuff, I actually don't mind players doing what Maguire doing what he did, Rashford doing what he did. I kind of like to see it because there are a lot of bullshit media people both over there in football with you guys, but also here in the States. And the thing that instantly came in my mind was recently a guy on a team that my NBA team, which is the Knicks. They were talking about rumors of selling him, and he just got a big contract last season because he had his best season last year, right? He got a 3-year, $62 million, $56 million guaranteed contract, and they were talking about trading him. I'd take a quarter of that, but the media was talking about trading him, and one of them brought it up to him in an interview, right, where they were going back and forth, and he literally back and forth, face to face, was like, "Who reported that? Did you report that?" He confronted him face to face. So my point is, I like seeing that. Call these BS media people up, because we all know that in a lot of these industries, it's more about clicks than authenticity at this point, and not just in sports and all types of media. So yeah, Maguire shouldn't have the armband. And then in terms of people getting called out, I don't care, man. Do it some more.
Good comment here by Fred. In my opinion, the issue is less who's captain, although it obviously is an issue, but more so that we do not have enough leaders, players with a winning mentality in the squad. He's absolutely spot on. And I'm not going to... never mind. All right, I'm going to go around in reverse order, and I want you to talk to me very quickly about who you think should be captain. Try not to choose the same if you can help it, and give me a couple of minutes as to why you think this person... And listen, I just want to say, first of all, this isn't us for clicks or bait and talking about a negativity from Maguire. I think it is common practice and common ground that Harry is probably not the right man one way or another. I think he needs to focus on his game, and I will defend him to the cows come home. I think actually there's a very good player in there. People forget exactly how good he has been from when he came in last season for England, and he's just burnt out. That happens to anybody in a job, and when you're in the limelight like you are, especially them, it's going to take its toll. And if you're reading things like that all the time...
That honestly is the biggest load of shit excuse I've ever heard for a football player. It drives me loopy. Carry on.
We'll come to you in a minute, mate. But give me Hammer. I'll start with you, buddy. Your captain, if you had to change the reins, and why, please.
Real quick, I do think it's the pressure. I know it's BS, but I do think the 80 million, the shirt, and the armband is too much for Maguire. And I would go. I'm sure somebody's going to pick it as well. I might be wrong. I'm going to go Ronaldo. I know it's an easy pick, and the only reason is because he's done in some level of being a captain, whether it was with Portugal or whatever. But he's also the level. I think this we would all agree the level that we expect United that we think United should be at, mentality, what we want to see completed, the trophies we want to win, the level that we want to play at. So I think having somebody like him who is going to lead by maybe not example all the time, because I know people do complain about him not always pressing and stuff like that. But in terms of the mentality of how we need to win, and only 3 points, only a win is good. A draw is losing 2 points, all of that. I would go with Ronaldo.
Cal, do you share that sentiment, Ronaldo, if you or someone else?
I will say while he's stuck, it's
in
a
your own
hard
time.
choice.
Honestly, I haven't got a clue who should be captain.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to go around the team. McTominay.
No. Any reason why?
No, not him. Lindelof. I'll go Lindelof. I believe
Why?
he's captain. I believe he's captain of Sweden.
Why?
He's captain of his national team. He must be able to deal with that kind of pressure. So maybe give him a go with the United one. And I swear to God, right, if we get to a couple of people and Henry says De Gea, I'm going to come to wherever he lives and murder him.
Big
I
words.
just think
He
Yeah.
mentioned De Gea before, and a man that can't kick a ball or command his own 6-yard box cannot command the team.
It was a comment of principle more than anything. The willingness to talk out against the team when they're playing shit. That's what I like.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what he said, actually.
No,
I think he was. I think whilst you might not agree that he should be captain, I agree with that. I prefer an outfield player.
No, that was right. I was just worried that he was
Yeah,
going to
no.
use that as an excuse.
You
to
guys
make
know
me captain,
I used to play in goal, so I know the criticism of that. In fact, I've been one of the biggest critics. You know, I've been on podcasts with Was before when I've spoken about how Henderson is streets ahead in terms of commanding his box and actually controlling the ball and taking it down and you know, almost controlling the tempo of games, which Edison does quite a lot.
I'd be most bothered as well that the keeper walks out first. Like that's some weird OCD I have. But you know, in the tunnel, keeper should walk out second. It's a weird OCD of mine, that.
Sorry.
Wes, your captain, mate. I think I know what you're going to say, but go on.
To be honest, I did put Bruno Fernandes on Twitter yesterday as the captain of Manchester United, but after hearing some alternative opinions, I think Hammer made a really good point, because if you put that pressure on Bruno Fernandes and it's Fernandes going to the referee on each occasion, we know that Fernandes he'll say something wrong, or he'll say something that'll get him booked, and we don't want Fernandes on a yellow card. But put Fernandes on a yellow card limits his game, because we want Fernandes to put tackles in. We want him to be that energetic player. So then if he's on a yellow card, he's limited. So I think our best option is actually Rafael Varane, you know, because as a captain, he's got that authority on the pitch. When Rafael Varane's on the pitch, you know he's on the pitch because there's his stature, the stature of his like performance and just him as a player. And I feel that he's very composed. You don't need to be that shouter like Scott McTominay's sort of leadership. The leadership in other ways. David Beckham was a great leader for Manchester United, and he wasn't much of a talker. And he led by performance, and I feel Rafael Varane would be a really good captain. By performance, he'll set the standard. And who in that squad would disrespect Rafael Varane? No one, because he's done it. He is levels, I think, and he's composed as well. So,
Wes, just quickly, with that in mind, with obviously somebody not being so vocal, as you mentioned, David Beckham was a leader, but he wasn't really vocal on the pitch. Do you not think that could work maybe in Maguire's hand, and we don't know enough about what he does behind the scenes?
yeah, that's potentially true. The problem is with Maguire, it's actually like a tactical point. With under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we were more of a like a counter-attacking team. So with Maguire, we'd have Shaw tucked in, we'd have Fred McTominay like 5 yards just in front of Maguire and Lindelof, for example. So it was that little block that was tight to get through. So all all Maguire had to do really was win his headers, win his duels that he regularly does. But now with Ragnick and the high press system that we're trying to implement, we're like 10, 15 yards higher compared to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last season. So there is those spaces in the channels, and we've seen on numerous occasions when that ball is played on the right wing in behind Shaw and Maguire has to go out. We saw like Leicester away. We've seen it in recent performances. He does get beaten in those isolated periods, and that's a problem. So I think although Maguire generally is a decent to good footballer, but he needs a system to suit his style of play. If, for example, Maguire played for the title-winning Leicester team, it'd be fantastic. Head it away, counter-attack system. If we play for Burnley, we'll be looking at him saying, "Oh, should we get Maguire?" Because he's doing all the defensive attributes we want, but it's that style of play that suits him. But yeah, with Maguire, obviously, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. I feel ultimately, though, generally as well, your captain's got to show the standards in terms of performance on the field, and that's how you gain the biggest respect. So yeah, I'm going with Varane.
Yeah, good points, well made there, matey. Henry, are you in agreement or someone different?
Well, I was going to go with Varane, if I'm being honest. Another player who I would go with, and I'm going to get hammered for this, absolutely hammered for this. I think I like.
Not say it, are you?
No, Pogba, if I'm being honest. And my reasons why. Okay, and I see people shaking their heads. Okay, before he came
I'm ready for your answer. Go on.
Before he came to Manchester United, and I've seen stuff about him at Juve. He was a very kind of vibrant figure. You want a captain who's not miserable all the time. You want a captain who's kind of capable of lifting the players when they're in bad moments. And I've never seen a bad word from a player about Paul Pogba. I see it from pundits because they run agendas, but I've never seen a bad word. I saw interview with Declan Rice. I think it was yesterday or something. Top 5 players he's ever played against. Paul Pogba was in there. And everyone's going, everyone keeps saying, just get rid
Top
of him.
3, sorry.
Top 3. Okay. Yeah, top 3 then. I know he did. I think he did 5. I'm not sure, but he was in the top 3. So, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, he gets absolutely berated by the press. He's a family man. He's done nothing wrong. His agent talks crap. Fair enough, but agents will do what agents will do because they want the most money. But see comments like that, and I get it's all it's all in jest. It's all fun.
He's only playing.
But, yeah, I know, but it's the problem I have is he's been so similarly disrespected. Are we forgetting that the last 2 games that he played, he was basically man of the match for both? Are we forgetting that? And that he played in a system with 2 number 8s, which we've never played before, and he plays really well. And that's sometimes a system they played at Juve. Oh, I wonder why he played so well. Because he's not being shoved out on the left wing. Because he's not trying to play, not being played defensive midfield alongside Fred or McTominay, who can only pass sideways, both of them. He's not.
I mean, real quick, it did help. It did help having somebody like Pirlo back in there with him.
Of course it did. But I've mentioned before standards at the club. Our midfield, at its best at the moment, seems to be Fernandes, McTominay, and Pogba. Probably. I know some people would argue Fred, but I can't for the life of me understand why.
I mean, we're choosing between Fred and Scott. That's not much of a choice.
Yeah, and case in point, the most revenue, the most turnover, and we've got Scott McTominay in midfield. Scott McTominay, I'm sorry, he can't play midfield for Scotland. He gets shoehorned into centre back because he's not better than John McGinn, and that it might sound disrespectful, but
I'm just gonna go against that a little bit there. Actually, McTominay, because of the way that he plays in this Man United system and his cover shadow, not very good at receiving the ball, he is pushed back into a back 3 where he thrives because he's not in a position where he doesn't need that ball. So I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying that's why.
He's not the single man to pivot though. That's not what he is. He's not capable of playing that position.
Agreed.
He was a striker when he was in the youth team, if I'm correct in saying, and he's been
Got a
put
hell of a
into
shot on him.
the field on his own. So the problem I have is, and again, I mentioned Pogba before because he's a winner. Before he came to United, he was a winner. There's a consistent theme with these players, isn't there? That they seem to win fuck all when they come to United, but they win loads before.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the club, not these players. They win nothing when they get here, and it's like, they must all be terrible all of a sudden. It's a consistent theme, and I'm tired of seeing. I keep seeing prop for McTominay, and I get it. He's a passion merchant. I understand. He really loves throwing his hands around and going in 2-footed into a tackle. That's delightful to see. I like to see what a player can do on the ball, and I just don't see the future of United's defensive midfield lying with Scott McTominay, who doesn't play that position anywhere else. So, yeah, I'm firmly in the Pogba camp. I want him to sign a new deal. I think that when he goes, which he will go, I think. When he goes, we'll see how fantastic he is. As we're seeing with Martial, are we forgetting that Martial? I think Martial did an interview in English last night, and he got hammered because he never spoke English at Manchester United. Well, he could speak English, but he was never given the chance. He was never given the chance in an interview, and he can speak fluent English in Spain.
It's just perceptions.
Maybe he just didn't like the fucking media. He was like, "Fuck you guys, I only speak French."
But do you get what I mean? He got absolutely pummeled.
A lot of perceptions they're created from the media. Like Paul Pogba, from day one they were against him. Gary Neville against him. Souness was against him. Constantly. And when that happens, it does influence the mass football audience. The mass football audience generally take their information off the television. They're not critical thinkers. They see a headline, for example, as Callum mentioned, on Maguire. That's it. They're not even going to click on the article, bother reading it, checking if there's even a reliable source behind the article. They're just going to take it as face value, and that's the problem. With Pogba, Henry does make good points. I just think that boat sailed a bit, to be honest. So
yeah,
that's
maybe. I completely understand. I get the point. I was trying to come up with something different. I would love Varane in a heartbeat. I want someone who doesn't come out with apology letters after we lose a game. I'm sorry. If I see a PR merchant be put in as captain at this club, I would go ballistic because I'm fed up of. Such a shame that we lost that game. We'll do better next time, and then they don't. So I want a captain who's going to tell some hard truths, who's going to lead by example, who's a winner, who's a serial winner. If you gave me the option to get in Sergio Ramos into the dressing room on a free, not for playing, just on a free.
That ship sailed, mate, a few years ago.
No. I'm just saying. You need senior figures in your dressing room. You look at Thiago Silva at Chelsea. Look at Thiago Silva at Chelsea. Look at Fernandinho at Man City. You need senior figures in the dressing room, and it feels like apart from Ronaldo and Varane, a bunch of babies on the pitch. We preach youth. I've seen people, get rid of Pogba and replace him with Hannibal. Are you mental?
Who the fuck said that?
He played first team for Tunisia. He was on the bench for them before, for the last 3 games of AFCON.
The problem is, though, Henry, is nobody, and I mean not a single player or manager. Ferguson didn't do it, neither did Mourinho, neither did Solskjaer. Nobody is going to come out and call anything out about this club. Nobody does it.
Because they're scared of the owners.
You get fired.
Do you know what? Me and Brendan were having a little bit of a hissy on the comments. But at the end of the day, we came to the agreement. This club is rotten because it is bleeding from the top. Yeah. This club will never, ever be serious with these. You know what I mean? We can talk about managers coming in. We can talk about players. But until these owners go, we will never be serious again. I am telling you now, United will not win anything serious. We might have a splutter with the odd trophy, like the odd FA Cup and League Cup, maybe, and a little bit of a run in the European competitions. But whilst the Glazers are in charge of this club, we will never, ever, ever get near the league. When you are coming up against the likes of Newcastle, who are now nation backs, and City and Chelsea, who are backed by a Russian oligarch, and you've got Liverpool, who've got Klopp in charge. When Klopp goes, it'll be the same for Liverpool. I think Liverpool will go exactly back to where they are. I'm telling you, we're done. United
You're-
have finished.
you're-
I do not see how United go forward at all with these owners. And
You're
they will
right.
continuously stand still and fall backwards with these in charge. And the problem is, they don't care. They never will do. They can give all the crap that they want to Must, and they can give it all over Twitter and to the Man United webpage and to the fans. They can do whatever they like, but unfortunately, they don't mean any of it, and they never have done, and they never will do. The ground is falling to bits. Carrington is falling apart.
Yeah.
All these things that are happening to the club are because of them. And we got away with it for 8 years because Ferguson was there. You saw, the thing is, the Glazers saw Ferguson was gone. They didn't have any kind of structure in place. They put a man in charge who had no idea about football. They put interim after interim manager in charge. Can I ask any of you a question? Would you ever see an interim chairman or an interim head of business in charge? No. An interim head of advertising. You'd never see that. But you see it in the footballing side of things. I think we've had it 3 times. We've had it with Giggs, Solskjaer, and now Rangnick. That would never, ever happen on the business side of this club, because the thing that they care about is money. And people go in the media, talk sport, they go, well, they've spent £1 billion. No, they haven't. We have. That was Man United's money. If we want to talk about the Glazers have actually taken £1 billion, while City owners have put £1 billion of their own money into the club and the area around Manchester where City reside. The Glazers have done nothing for this club. They continuously do nothing for this club. And to an extent, Brendan's right. Having a go at Maguire and all this, it has probably got its downsides. We're talking solely from a football perspective that he probably deserves to be bashed slightly in terms of his footballing ability at the moment, because his performances have been dreadful, and him in terms of being a captain has been shocking, and him blaming everybody else. But he's right. When it comes to the be-all and end-all of it, the Glazers are the issue. And I am sick to death of seeing any defence from other. No United fan does it, to be fair, or very few. But most other outlets from other clubs seem to go, oh, they spent loads of money. No, they haven't. They spent Man United's money that Man United generate. They're piss poor businessmen. They don't care about the football side of the club. They don't care about the club. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the area that the club's in. They don't care about Manchester. They don't care about the Premier League. You saw that with the Super League proposals. United are finished with these as owners. I don't care what manager comes in. I don't care what players come in. I will really, of course, I'm hoping wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope we go and win the league next year. But I can't see it with these owners, because they will forever just go, oh, people go, well, they've thrown money at it. They haven't. They've thrown our money at it. And it's not just about throwing money at it. You need a structure in place. You need the right people to decide where the money goes, what parts of the pitch it needs to go to, what parts of the club it needs to go to in terms of structure and infrastructure and investing in your academy. None of that's happened. They've just gone, just throw a load of money at the players. Let's get a Galactico in and get a bit of money in for shirt sales. The Glazers have ruined this club, and until they've gone, United are finished. And I refuse to believe anything else until they've gone.
The biggest problem with the club isn't necessarily the Glazers are a massive issue, and they always will be. It comes down to competence, and you look at the clubs around us. You look at our biggest rivals in Liverpool, Man City. You look at how astutely run they are. I forget the money for a minute.
They were kind of who I was alluding to.
Look at how Liverpool have switched. Look at how their model's changed. I know their technical director's leaving, but the second guy is going to come up and take over the role by the looks of it, who's been learning from, I think it's Edwards, been learning from him for the last few years. But you look at the way that City are run. You look at the way that Chelsea are run. Chelsea had a minus net spend in the summer. A minus net spend. And they paid 97 million for Romelu Lukaku. So we're looking at clubs that they might spend crazy amounts of money on. Grealish was X amount, but that's kind of overshadowed because they've got such a good side and they've got such a good youth team. United's youth team, it used to produce a lot of players, and now it's producing a few players. But the problem is we shoehorn relatively decent players into a side that wants to be challenging for the top 4. Now that's not good enough.
I half disagree. I actually think we're on the cusp of a big golden generation of players at the moment.
But while you may be right, look at Man City and some of the players that are coming through there. Look at Liverpool and some of the players that are coming through there. Look at Chelsea and some of the players that are coming through their youth system as well. The problem is we can't afford to loan these players out, which is what other clubs do. They loan them out, see whether they're good enough, then they bring them back into the first team. We can't afford to do that because the owners don't want to spend any money on any reasonable, defensive midfielder was available for 6 million or something. I think it was Zakaria, 6 million. And they didn't go for him, not because of the playing side of things, because he won't sell shirts. A defensive midfielder that's named Zakaria is not going to sell shirts if he's got the number 24. He won't sell shirts. That's why they didn't get him. It's as simple as that. They're a commercial brand. They've just signed a 20 million deal for training kits. And the problem is we're not succeeding and they're still getting these deals. So they're not going to leave anytime soon. But we're competing against, people say City's run by a country, Newcastle, fair enough. But they're well run. That's the difference.
You can argue why they're well run though, because they want to hide other aspects of why they bought football.
That's fine, but the Glazers have done.
Probably.
The Glazers have done. Malcolm was dodgy as hell.
Glazers have done very bad things.
Inspector Callum.
No, but
The thing is with youth players, they need to walk into a first team that's strong. The foundations of that first team strong. They're performing. The leaders of Manchester United first team are supporting the youngsters. So you'll see at City when Foden was drip fed in and out the team. You'll see Harvey Elliott this season drip fed in and out the team. But with Manchester United, we put Garner in, he's going to get swallowed. Who's he got? Fred, McTominay to his side, and Pogba leaving. That's the problem.
Alanga missing that penalty, last minute penalty, and we're relying on a kid to score it. Oh no, he might have said, yeah, I'll take this one. Someone should have said to him, I don't think that's a good idea, mate, because if you miss, you're going to get hammered. Whereas if I miss, it doesn't matter. So that's the problem. City, you're right, they drip feed the players in. You look at like Liam Delap. I've heard, rave reviews about how good he is, but they're still drip feeding him in progressively. Yeah. And City sent Harvey Elliott out on loan and then bring him back because they see that he's good enough. These players, they should be loaned out. Then you see whether they're good enough. There was this talk of, Will Fish, who went to Stockport on loan. People saying how fantastic he was. He went to Stockport, didn't play. Like this is the problem. We're putting players in that are not ready, and you make them play an EFL Cup game, or you make them play, the odd Premier League game when you're 4-0 up going into the 85th minute. You put them on for a little bit and let them get a taste of it. That's what other clubs are doing.
But
we're just throwing them in the deep end.
I don't understand. United have loaned players out. Garner's doing brilliantly.
Look at
Diallo's gone out and done really well.
Yeah, but
Alanga's coming to the first team and done brilliantly.
Yeah, but
Palestri's gone to Alavaz in Spain. Like, these players have been loaned out and they're doing quite well.
What was the solution that Ralph said for for not buying a defensive midfielder? Hannibal will be training with the first team. Okay, and what I can't understand right now in my head is every other team, they drip feed these players in. They bring them in progressively and slowly, and they let them, they let them be around the first team for a while, around the winners, and let them see kind of the culture of the club. The problem with the United players is I'm seeing, Luke Shaw isn't playing well. Some people saying, Alvaro Fernandez, that would be great. Well, it would be, but 23s and first team is a completely different story. I'm just tired of, and by the way, the January transfer window was an absolute farce. We saved something like 500k a week on wages. We got Martial being loaned out, who's now scoring and assisting for Sevilla. And we got the absolute shit show. No offense to Marcus Rashford. He's in a bad run of form that's lasted about a year, by the way. And I'm tired of the walking.
Well, I thought he was coming back into form. He had a good couple of games recently, and then obviously was left out and brought on.
When he comes on, someone will run. I think it was one of the goals that Shaw played someone on side. It was down the left-hand side. I don't know whether it was when Maguire got done. I think was it Southampton? I don't know.
Burnley, maybe?
I saw Rashford run, stop, and point, and then go, someone else's job. So this is what I'm seeing with these players. I'll see loads of Rashford.
Martial's been shit for Sevilla as well, Henry.
Huh?
Like, he's been terrible.
What, Martial?
Like, he's not done anything for Sevilla. He scored and assisted, but his performance has been absolutely
I was going to move on. I'm going to move on to that in a moment, Callum. Sorry, buddy. Grant, you have your say on what we've been talking about, and we'll talk about Martial and then wrap up.
there's so many good points here from the guys, and I was keeping quite quiet throughout because I think there was a lot of really good debates in there. I agreed with what Hammer was saying about Ronaldo in some respects and the quality that he has, and I would argue that he's a massive upgrade on someone like Maguire, and I think he would probably be the captain because he has that standards. He's done it, been there, seen it. And, absolutely, I think he would want that. But I absolutely agree with Fass. I am very much in the Varane camp. You know, he's done it for France. He's done it for Real Madrid on numerous levels. He's won La Liga. You know, I think a captain of a club should be one that's a serial winner, should be one that's an absolute leader in the heart of a defence. And C, he has to have a full understanding, not just of that defence, but also of the goalkeeper and also of the defensive midfield as well. Varane has done that on a consistent level for Real Madrid, and he's done it for France. I absolutely see what Henry's saying about Pogba, and I absolutely take that point, because I actually think Varane might help Pogba's game in some respects as well, because obviously they both play for the French national team, and I do feel that there is some weight in that. I think Callum said an interesting point about McTominay, and I kind of half smiled being a Scot myself because I like McTominay, and I've always been a big supporter of McTominay. But I think Callum's got a good point. McTominay for Scotland plays a totally different position than what he's being told to play for Manchester United. I still don't think even the most ardent United fan knows what Scott McTominay's best position is. In my opinion, I think McTominay is a box-to-box midfielder. Now, a lot of people won't agree with that. A lot of people will say he's probably more a sitter. People say he's more advanced, but I think he's a box-to-box midfielder, and you know, I think that is his position. But I just think Varane knows what it takes to beat a winner. You know, he's 28. People forget he's 28. He's younger than me. I'm 30, and he's younger than me. The guy has won the lot internationally and at club level. You know, I think he would help Maguire. If I think Hammer's made a good point there. I think he would help Maguire. I think he would help the defence as a whole. And I just think he would just give a more kind of wider feel to the game that would be a lot more positive. And the guys were making some interesting points there about some of the younger guys coming through. You look at someone like Cole Palmer at Manchester City, who's coming through the ranks and scoring goals in the Champions League. This is a guy who, in my opinion, I think will be better than Phil Foden. I think he's an absolutely fantastic talent. Was mentioned Harvey Elliott. I think he's a fantastic player. You know, he was excellent for Liverpool against Inter. I know he was substituted, but I think Klopp had to change things because he wanted to go out and steal the game by the scruff of the neck, and his substitutes worked to the advantage. But I thought Elliott was having a good game. You could see what other teams are trying to do. I just really don't see what United are trying to do at the moment. We have a lot of really good young talent coming through, but we don't play them in the right areas of the pitch. We don't play them at the right times. You know, this is a kind of a phase of the season whereby we kind of have nothing to lose. You know, I think we are massively in danger, if not already, of becoming the new Arsenal. You know, Arsenal have been, you know, a lot of people have been laughing about Arsenal for years, but Arsenal still got a great chance of finishing the top four this season, but they've had to change their dynamics. They've given youth a chance. They've given guys like Smith Rowe. They've given Kieran Tierney. They've given Martinelli game time. What have United done? That's the question I asked. Anyway, I just wanted to wrap that up because that was my views. The guys had sort of spread things around, but I just wanted to have my say.
No, good points well made from everybody, really. And unfortunately, you're absolutely right, Callum. I allude to what you were talking about. As a Manchester United fan, it doesn't bode well, does it? It doesn't give us pleasant viewing, and it doesn't really give us any impetus or positivity for the next few years, and that is really hard to swallow. But unfortunately, it is what it is, and you're absolutely right. Alex Ferguson masked those cracks in a lot of ways. He had a really poor team as years went on from about sort of 2010, 2011, and he got so much out of them, and that's because he was obviously the one man that was able to do what he needed to do, try and get the players in. Didn't always get the players that he wanted because of the Glazers, but then did what he had. He worked with what he had, and it is a very, very difficult situation. But listen, as I tried to be glass half full, I hope that at some stage this will change, and it might not be soon, but at least we can try and hang on to those positives that do happen, like finally a win at the weekend. You know, pretty good, and hopefully we can go on and beat Leeds this weekend. I was going to talk about Martial, and I'm going to come to Hammer very quickly on him, and then Vas, and then we're going to wrap up. I just want to say there's a lot of you on Twitter tonight. Come over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. We can't see your comments on there. We want to read them out, but thanks for tuning in at least on the Twitter page. Hammer, just quickly on Martial, there's been a lot of scrutiny over him. I've given him a lot as well. And I appreciate, obviously, he's just gone to that league and we'll have to see how it sort of pans out. But, 3 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, took his shot beautifully last night, I have to say. Really composed, very precise, and he looked absolutely over the moon that he got the goal. But first of all, for you, are you happy with him? And do you think, obviously, if he does well, you'd expect him to come back into the team, and maybe this is United's thinking, 6 months, needs a lease of life, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, happy to see that he's doing somewhat well over there. In terms of his chances, I figured the way that the direction his career was going, I guess more so coming towards, I guess, the end of Solskjaer, right? Like there was a lot of times where I felt like he was coming to the last opportunity, like the last chance for him to really get back into the mix. Sorry. For the United team and for the United plans. So I think this loan is essentially his very last gasp, right? His very last chance. I'm not sure. Is it a loan with an option to buy, or is it a straight up loan?
I don't think there's anything like that. I don't even think there's an option to not an obligation. There's definitely not an obligation, but I don't think there's even an option. I think he's coming straight back.
Yeah, it's just a straight loan.
Well, either way, whether it was an option or not, I still feel like it was their last thing of them saying, okay, go show us if you still can play to how we would like to see you play for us. And then depending on how the loan goes, depends on if we keep you or not. So yeah, happy to see the guy playing well, right? He was stuck on the bench. I think everybody wants to see decent footballers, right, get their opportunities to show what they can do. But again, I think this is his last opportunity to make his way back into the United plans. And if not, when he comes back, it'll just be to turn right back around and go out somewhere else and get sold somewhere else.
And Vas, any last comments from you on Martial? You were nodding enthusiastically with his goal that he scored yesterday. So your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little disappointed in Martial in terms of Rangnick arrived and Martial wanted out immediately. It's like he didn't even give Rangnick any opportunity. I think we've all mentioned at times how Ronaldo and Martial would actually dovetail quite well in terms of Ronaldo drifts to the left during games and Martial moves into the middle, and that control that Martial brings in the final third, it supports our play in the final third, and it suits the likes of Ronaldo and Sancho maybe on the right hand side, and the balance improves. So it was disappointed how he just wanted out. He didn't want to stay. He just immediately wanted out. It was really disappointing. I think he is on his last opportunity. But the thing is, I don't think there's like an influx of high quality strikers apart from the Haaland and 1 or 2 others. Vlahovic has gone Juventus. There's not anyone that's like you could get. So there is opportunity for Martial to return and take that spot still, because Cavani is going to go, Ronaldo will probably go, and it's not like we're definitely going to sign a striker. So there still is that opportunity under a new manager that may arrive, maybe the likes of Pochettino, Ten Hag. For example, he would suit the likes of Ten Hag in terms of when he drops in space, links play, and then advances. So yeah, I was disappointed in Martial in terms of him leaving, but United, everything is like a cracked window screen. You focus on that, but there's so many other points to talk about, and it's the same window screen, so it all applies. So you can isolate Maguire, you can isolate.
Love that analogy.
You can isolate this, that, and the other, but there's no point isolating it because it's the same cracked windscreen, and that's the problem at United. That's where we're always huffing and puffing. We're making different points because we know there's a larger picture to it. So it's really difficult at the moment.
Yeah, great analogy there, mate. I will remember that and try to use it in future shows. But thank you very much. Yeah, everybody, great discussion tonight. I didn't necessarily come on to talk about the Glazers, but it did go on that tangent, and really good, heartfelt conversation there. So thank you all very, very much. It's a Friday night. Here we are at 10 o'clock, and you're giving your time up for us, so we really appreciate that. And the same for everybody in the comments as well. Good debates going on tonight, mainly. And we appreciate all your comments, and make sure you get liking and get sharing. And as I said earlier, Twitter users, come over to YouTube. You won't be disappointed. We'd love to read your comments out too. But listen, I hope it doesn't get too windy for you this weekend. I've seen all sorts of videos today suggesting otherwise, and I hope that you're all safe and well. But yeah, we've got more shows coming up. We've got a reaction on Sunday, which is by yours truly. Hopefully that'll be a win at Ellen Road against one of our fiercest rivals. And then Devil's Advocate again on Sunday. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.